friends, Earl at thelogbook.com, here back on the NES. Let's play some Donkey Kong. This is, the NES is most closely associated with Super Mario Brothers, but there were earlier games in the Mario Cinematic Universe, I don't know what you want to call it, that were done pretty well on the NES. But the thing is that by that point, what was expected of a system with the relative computing power of the NES was something like Super Mario, and games such as Donkey Kong were, they were going to be pretty easy. So yikes. The controls are pretty slick. If anything, I do better with Donkey Kong as a D-pad game than as a joystick game. Proper social distancing. I will save you, princess, but from a distance of 6 feet. Oh wait, that's not the princess. That's Pauline, or whatever her name is in this game. Does Princess Peach know about her? One wonders. Mario's dark secret. The old arcade trick of being able to stand there with the springs go over your head. Yeah, it works just fine in this version. Alright, let's do this, DK. I think it's safe to say that this was easily the most faithful home console port of Donkey Kong that you could get at the time. The previous, I think it would be also fair to say that the previous record holder for that particular description would have been the ColecoVision version. But this, you're dealing with something that is almost exactly the arcade game, with a few omissions. I've noticed that the arcade game's opening cutscene of Donkey Kong scaling the building and then jumping up and down and knocking the girders down, that's missing. But that's a pretty small quibble. That's not really... That's part of the attract mode. It's not necessarily part of the game. Kind of like me dying. That is very much part of the game, me getting Mario killed. Probably far too often. That fireball climbs that ladder a lot more. I've seen that happen more in this in this NES version of the game than it has ever happened to me in the arcade. Oh, I didn't jump soon enough. Oh, sorry, Mario. Game mode's over. Well, I went through all the levels, on the first playthrough. Let's give it another go. Everything, as you can see, audio-visually, this is as close as you're going to get to just walking into a barrel face first. No, it's not as close as you're going to get to walking into a barrel face first. It's as close as you're going to get to the arcade game with that era's state-of-the-art. And considering how close it is to the arcade game, that's, they didn't do too bad. They didn't do bad at all. Oh, that's interesting. I had just now noticed, possibly for the first time ever, and this game has only been out, 35 years now, that the hammer doesn't change color to indicate that it is about to go away. Interesting. I'd never noticed that before, but I just happened to be watching it because I was wondering, I wondered if it still does that. I wonder if it does that like the arcade game does. Oh! Darn it, I was doing so well there. I was thinking I might get through the entire game on the second playthrough as well as the first. Now I have my doubts. That fireball is incredibly annoying. How did I miss? How did I miss? Oh, sorry, Mario. Well, there you go. Donkey Kong for the NES. Perhaps nothing exceptional, not the Nintendo Entertainment System at the very height of its powers. And yet at the same time, this really was as arcade perfect a game as you could get at home, short of, say, playing Wizard of War on the Astrocade, which, used substantially similar hardware to the arcade version, and therefore the Astrocade version was a very good port. But this was the point with the early NES releases where you could reasonably start to expect games from the early 80s to show up at home looking very much like they did in the arcade. Thanks for watching.